Morning, everybody. My name is Linda Hall. I am, along with Barb Tobias, representing Connect to Community. I'm just this on there. Okay. And we are a nonprofit group here based in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, serving young adults with developmental disabilities and their families, with a focus pretty much on preparing for and navigating transition out of school and into what we hope will be a full and meaningful life in the community, whatever that looks like for that individual. This Friday Forum is part of our larger educational outreach initiative, which also includes informational tours, which we hope to resume in the fall, as well as a yearly transition summit, which will take place next April, hopefully in person as well. Our topic for today is employment services. And while each of the three presenters takes a different tack on how they approach their services and they serve a different geographical area, they are common in the fact that they are all looking to advance vocational opportunities for people with disabilities. So I'm looking forward to hearing about all of you. Some of you I'm not as familiar with as others, so I'm looking forward to it myself. I want to let you know that we do keep all of our attendees on mute. So if you could please post your questions using the chat feature. And at the end of each presentation, we will take as much time as we can to answer your questions before moving on to the next speaker. So today we're happy to welcome Greg Spiegelman from Total Link to Community, Cindy Montgomery from Teachability, and Kristen Sheffield from the Parents Alliance Employment Project. Super excited to know that some of these groups are parent founded, as Connect to Community is. So we love hearing those stories as well. Again, they'll take about 20 minutes or so for their presentation, and we'll have time for questions for each speaker after that. So let's kick things off with Greg Spiegelman from Total Link.
Thank you, Linda. Hi, everyone. Happy to get this kicked off. Yeah, I'm going to start off by sharing my screen. I got a little slideshow. So I represent part of a group called From Total Link to Community. And let's see. Basically, we're based in Northbrook. We're a nonprofit that we focus on, you know, as the other people who are speaking today, ensuring that young adults with various intellectual and developmental disabilities can thrive in their community. And obviously, my name is Greg Spiegelman. I'm an employment specialist with Total Link. I was hired last June. Prior to that, I had basically little to no experience working with anyone with disabilities. I came from the alcoholism and addiction field. So I worked in that industry for a very long time. And it was unique and you can relate it in a lot of different ways. But eventually I found my way to school and I got my undergrad and an MBA. But I found that I didn't want to enter the corporate world. I found that I feel like what I really bring to Total Link is developing partnerships with businesses and corporations in our community to create a funnel for young adults that are appropriate and have the skill set that's necessary to be hired and have a sustainable career that they can grow in and be happy in when that's mutually beneficial. So, and Total Link has been great so far. Our mission is to help young adults be fully included members of the North Shore community. We specialize in a specific region. We feel that our partnerships in our immediate community, we leverage those heavily. And our process heavily involves the families and our community partners. So we specialize in really the North Shore community. So Total Link was founded by 6 families, all from Northbrook that have a son or a daughter with a disability, and they wanted all of their children at that time were at about transition age, and they realized that once the bus stops coming, they were kind of unsure of what was next, and it was kind of scary. They wanted to create innovative and sustainable programs that could offer support. Some of the programs that we offer are, we have a lot of different learning labs and social programs. There's someone else who can talk to you about that at length, but we offer around 36 throughout the week. Some are hybrid, some are in person. Sorry, well, it's 36 now, it was 23. And yeah, during pandemic, it was all Zoom, but now we're starting to navigate how we can move forward there and offering a lot of things that are in-house and where everyone can attend in person. So we offer a lot of different things. Art is one example, community life is another, where we take our participants out in the community and do a lot of various activities. Bowling and going to zoos is just a short example. But today, we're here to talk about employment services. That's my wheelhouse. We believe that anyone can work, anyone with the right supports in place. So let me move this up real quick. We know that all people have talents, skills, and abilities. It doesn't matter, if you have a disability or not. And work is not just a job. Hopefully, it's not for most people. It's an opportunity for independence and citizenship. And like myself, I know that when I work and when I work at a place that I enjoy and fulfills me, I'm happier, I'm more self-confident, I gain a better social life, and I have financial security and a lot more independence. As we grow, that's important to all of us. So unfortunately, Illinois ranks 44th out of 50 of the 50 states in the US in efforts to service individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. That information comes from a case study from the Ancor Foundation and United Cerebral Palsy in 2019. For workers with disabilities in Illinois, only 7% are working in community-based integrated employment compared to the national average of 20%. I'd like to specify that integrated employment refers to places where they're not exactly like places where there's various companies that aren't bad or anything, but they hire only specifically people with disabilities, that it's considered to be, you might call it like a safer environment, but integrated employment would be working anywhere among others who have disabilities or not, and basically just as diverse as humanly possible. So this is where we come in. The Department of Rehabilitation Services of Illinois, which is part of the Department of Human Resources, began piloting a program called Customized Employment several years ago. Right now, there's about 6 or 7 now service providers with Illinois DRS that provide this customized employment process. It's a process that was developed by a company called Griffin and Hammis, and we're all certified in that process. And it's a little bit unique in comparison to some of the other processes or contracts, I guess you could say, that DRS pays for. And we believe, not that it's the only way, but we believe that it's the best way, and we prefer to go about it no matter what the contract is. And so what is customized employment? Well, it starts with the person, not the employer's requirements. We take a very individualized approach. We represent only one job seeker at a time, and it's a long, extensive process with the intention of really getting to know the individual. And before looking at even job listings or seeing what openings there are, we want to really be able to present the job seeker to appropriate and relevant organizations, because we want to have an in-depth understanding of their unique skills, needs, not just interests, and not just, can we fill a space? In some cases, it can be great, like if you just get someone in a job, you could grow and learn from there. And but what we really believe is we want to set someone up for success right from the beginning. Not that there isn't troubleshooting along the way, but the process is extensive, and I'll go into that in a little bit. So who are our job seekers? Well, they're typically people from our community around the Northbrook, Glenview, Highland Park, Winnetka areas. They're students and young adults, sometimes not just young adults, real, older adults with developmental disabilities, learning disabilities, and various complex support needs. And they have families who want to advance their child's economic independence and lead a more productive life. A lot of the time, our participants are just finishing up transition or getting towards the tail end of it. And families are interested in seeing what's the next step. So specifically for customized employment, it really takes a village. Involves working with job seekers networks, the families networks. We collaborate with DRS and adult services before graduation. We have things called community action teams, where at the end of our discovery process, we have everyone involved, all of our network, all the families networks, to get together and present the young adult and everything that we've learned about them, and come together to try to brainstorm what type of places do we think would be valuable to reach out to. So the family's role takes a considerable amount of time and support and communication. It's important to us that when we agree to work with someone, that the family understands that the process from beginning to end could be 6 months or longer, usually about 9 months. It's important to build a circle of support and share among families networks. We want to interview you. We want to interview those that are close to the young adult. We want to interview therapists, and just to get to know them as best as possible. And open and honest communication is obviously exceedingly important. We keep the families very well informed with a lot of documentation and a lot of communication. Some require a little bit more than others. Steps in customized employment involve one is discovering a personal genius. We call that discovery. That's usually about a 3 to 12 week process where, like I said, we're interviewing families and those close to the young adults. I would be taking individuals and meeting here at the office and doing various activities here to assess their skills, their interests, what type of things kind of set them off. What does it look like when they're at their best? And we'd be going out, and we could go out in the community. I'll give you an example of just like one activity I did recently, where I took a guy to Target and we shopped around, and I asked him to find various items in the store for me. And I went with him. We folded clothes together and see like what's the spatial awareness like with the cart? How can you navigate a store? Do you use the signs, or are you roaming aimlessly? Are you, what various like cues and references are you using? Are you comfortable asking for help when you need from an employee? And checking out and bagging? All that's not just related to like, okay, would this person be good working at Target or a grocery store or something like that? That sort of activity provides a lot of different information. Beyond activities like that, we create what's called a discovery summary profile, where we put together everything that we've really learned about the individual. And that ends up creating vocational themes. Usually it's 3 to 5. And then we go into job development, where we negotiate the job. I speak to corporations and organizations, small and large businesses in our communities that I feel and the family feels would be a good fit. I would go in and assess the place, meet with managers, meet with coworkers. What does a typical day look like? And whether they have a job opening or not, could something that they have be adapted or, changed to meet the needs or skill set of an individual that I'm representing. And then we would, negotiate the jobs. If there's placement, then I would go in and facilitate training and provide natural supports, embed those, and over time fade away. The goal being that the individual is enjoying themselves and that they're doing meaningful work that fulfills them and they're benefiting the organization that they're a part of, and that it has long-term sustainability, and that there's growth involved too. And yeah, of course, things can come up, in which case there's no problem with us coming back and troubleshooting and providing, maybe coming back and finding a new job in case it doesn't work out. I just went into way more detail without going through the slides, but yeah, discovery is the beginning. We observe, we participate in activities. We identify the types of supports, obviously. What's the individual's communication style? How can they adapt to change? A lot of times, companies have natural turnover. What is it like when a manager leaves? Can they handle something like that? And does the environment, is it okay if it's loud? Does it need to be quiet? Does there need to be a lot of movement? Can a person sit at a desk for extended periods of time? Or do they need to be moving around constantly? How social are they? All sorts of things like that would lead to those vocational themes that we really identify. Generally, they're much broader. We want to cast a very wide net to see what, we don't want to hone in on just a specific thing that only the individual is interested in. We really want to match skill set and interest to the job. At the end of discovery, we create what's called a living resume. That's usually a PowerPoint or brochure or a video. It's not your typical resume. When I applied here, I had a normal thing that provided my education experience and my previous employment. What we find really beneficial is for our participants to have something that not just provides that information, but has it highlights their strengths and interests. And has vivid descriptions of what they're like and what their dreams are, and a lot of different ways to really help create a connection at the beginning with coworkers and a manager to really get to know the individual right off the bat, because a lot of times just a resume doesn't really give a lot of color to who you are really as an individual. Community action teams are already discussed. It's where we bring everyone together. As I go through just the job development process, we'll do informational interviews, find out what the culture is like at the company, what's a typical day look like. Are they okay adapting the number of hours or days that the young adult likes to work? We like to start out slow, like 2 to 3 hours per shift, a few days a week, with room to grow from there. As I said, job negotiation is a part of that. Here's a guy that I work with, Emilio, and his boss right now. And his job was adapted to be appropriate for the needs that he had at the time. And right now he's, over the course of 6 months, he's working full-time at the place that's there. Job coaching is my favorite part of it. I love to go in and create connections. I find that it's as valuable as it is to create a strong connection with the individual that I'm coaching. It's equally as important to create connections with their coworkers and their managers to really help them understand how best to work with and interact. It's not, my experience was when I have a family connection here, and that's how I was kind of introduced to intellectual and developmental disability kind of world of work and community. But I wasn't sure how to, what was appropriate or how to act or what was okay and what's not. And I don't want to step on anyone's toes or offend anyone. And that stuff is understandable, but it's also, it requires exposure. So that's what I like going in and teaching people that it's okay. They're, workers just like you are. And we set up the natural supports to have in place that eventually it's okay if I start to fade away, or they aren't reliant on their coach. They can rely on the supports that you and I would have with our coworkers and our managers of where we work. I'd like to share a success story. It's a guy that I used to coach. His name is Yinka, and this is he and his mother. I don't know.
My name is Yinka. I like listening to music and bowling.
We were introduced to Total Link right after Yinka was aged out of the transition house at ETHS, Evanston School District. And I was just bewildered because I didn't know what to do, what was going to happen next. I always use this word lifesaver because Total Link literally saved our lives. He would have had to just be at home. So we were basically, looking for a place for him and, make new friends.
We did many virtual programs like game time, karaoke, yoga, heart words, dinner with friend, art lab, Netflix watch party, hanging out with the guys. I made lots of new friends.
What kind of work would he like to do? We knew that he liked to do laundry, he liked to wash dishes, he liked to clean. So we were looking for places where he could do that.
I work at Restore.
I work with the employer to help fill any communication gaps. I create a schedule. I help create a task list for him. So there's a lot that goes into supporting.
I like to work because it keeps me busy. I like being active and helping people. I like cleaning, mopping, and vacuuming.
Yinka is a great employee. He is always willing to work. He is very regimented in his routine as well. So he's just a great employee. He's the hardest working employee that we have here.
I like my job because the people there are nice to me. They help me schedule my Uber. And they are very patient with me.
Since he started participating with Total Link, I have so much hope that he will be successful. My advice to families is never give up. So that's how you actually find your child's passion, because every child has a passion, has a gift in them, but you have to find that gift or help them find that gift. Don't underestimate the potential in your child.
Wow, you are so talented. That is
Yeah?
beautiful, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
So yeah, that's Yinka. And he's fully on his own right now at Restore. One of the things I'd like to finish off on is that we're always learning, that families and friends and siblings and mentors are really the primary support for the job seekers, but things can happen as we go on. But one of the things I feel like I've learned is it in some cases it's like if like Yinka works at Restore and he does a lot of cleaning, but for him, some people might think that that's like, not impressive or it doesn't take a lot of talent. But for Yinka, he genuinely enjoys it, and his coworkers really enjoy seeing him when he comes in. And for Yinka and his family also, working 3 hours, like 3-4 days a week is a huge deal, and it's a massive accomplishment. And in many cases, a lot of people and families might have thought that wasn't really even possible. So I know I've gone a little bit over. If you'd like more information, I'll take questions at the end, and I'd be happy to give information to you all. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Greg. This was great. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them in the chat. We have about 4 minutes. Is there anything else that you would recommend for parents to consider in this process?
Make sure I would, as with anything, I'd really explore all of your options, but I'd really just know that it takes time. This isn't like looking for a new job is not easy for anyone. It's not a simple process, and it takes a lot of scratching out and going from the beginning. But it really takes a team effort, and it's really valuable for the families to be genuinely a part of it and offer that communication and be as open and honest as possible. We start off our discovery process by like going into their homes and seeing what home life is like. Do they do their own laundry? How clean is their room? What does it look like? What types of things are on the walls? And we want to like meet you and see where you work and what is it like being a parent. What are your concerns moving forward? Would you like your child to live independently someday? That would impact placement,
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of factors, but just know that there's a lot of different ways and there's no right way. Customized employment is the philosophy that we follow, but in some cases it's not appropriate for the family, and that's okay. But I would definitely just make sure you do your research. There's like Illinois is obviously 44th out of 50, but companies like ours genuinely care. And there's a, we're few and far between, but it matters to really invest that time.
Yeah, and what you do at Total Link is provide true customized employment. A lot of people say they do it, but it's really not so customized, and that's what makes the difference, as you said in the beginning of your presentation. I have two questions regarding accessing the services. Can anyone use Total Link services even if you live outside of the suburbs mentioned?
So absolutely, as long as they know that it's important during our discovery process to have in-house meetings here. So transportation is a big factor for families, and we understand that. For our employment specialists, me including, we can only travel so far when we are coaching. So if it's a job in the city, we're based in Northbrook. Of course, I'd love to go coach anyone anywhere, but that would take away from a lot of the clients that we work with locally. So it is a factor. So as long as they're okay and understand that working in our kind of catchment area is really an important factor. It's okay with us. We do have families that work out, that live outside of our areas, but they're okay or have transportation that's available to them.
Okay. All right, couple more questions. Do people go through DRS to get to you guys, or do they contact Total Link directly?
It could go either way. We could, DRS, we have a good relationship with DRS in various offices. And they could, if they feel that Total Link is a good fit, they could refer someone to us, or we get calls all the time and that we meet with, and we'll help start the process if they choose to go the DRS route and ask DRS to name us as the provider.
Okay. All right. And then can you share your PowerPoint either
Absolutely.
with Linda or then we can, or right here on the chat if people can access it that way? I don't know.
Yes.
But if you send it to Linda at Connected Community, she'll send it to all the attendees.
Got it.
And people have asked for your contact info to Total Link. And I believe that's on your PowerPoint as well, correct?
Yeah, I'll send it to the chat right now, either way though.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. All right, well, thank you very much, Greg. This was excellent. We appreciate the work that you're doing. And I think it's fantastic where you come from your area of expertise and transferring that to the disability world, because the research has shown actually customized employment was started for people with mental health issues, you know, originally through a Dartmouth study. So it's a really nice transition and a blending of your
Thank you.
expertise. So, all right, thank you very much.
We're going to move forward with Cindy Montgomery from Teachability. Good morning, Cindy.
Morning, everybody, and thanks for letting me speak. I'm really excited. I'm going to start with a quote. Young people view their work and their lives as deeply intertwined. This means that success in the workplace requires a multidimensional, whole person approach that acknowledges and values all aspects of one's identity. This is a quote from Finding a Way Forward. It's a report from America's Promise Alliance's YES project. YES is Young Youth Employed Successful. When I first began writing my presentation, I thought my audience would just be mostly families of people with disabilities. And then when I looked closer, I realized it's also for service providers and educators. I started to write about each of their perspectives as a separate topic, but then I realized that there's so many similarities, it's really all just one topic. I'll be giving you principles to apply to your actions during the transition period from school to employment. I'll also present some interesting research that will help everybody update their thinking. And finally, I'll give you tips and tools that will help you during this time. The most important thing to remember, I think, is to have high expectations. I know Greg was talking about how the young man liked to clean, and that's fine for a lot of people. But there are a lot of people like my son who is kind of in between, and he was put into programs that he hated. He was, given kind of subpar experiences. So I'm going to talk about having high expectations when it's realistic and when it's a good idea. We're all guilty at one time or another of overprotecting our students. So for me, when my son was at Summit School in Elgin, I thought he'd be there until the end of high school. And in 5th grade, he sat at the meeting and he said, I'm ready to go to Lincoln, which is our home school. And I was horrified. I was like, no, but the principal looked at me and she said, he's ready. So, you just do it. And he thrived. He had the best time, made a lot of friends. He had a really good time in Lincoln. And then another time when he had an internship in Chicago, he wanted to take the subway himself. And that was terrifying to me. So we called RTA Travel Training, and this was all free. It's a really good service. They taught him how to take the L, and he did that all the time. The first time I dropped him off, I just almost cried in the parking lot. I was so scared, but he did it, and then the last one is he's going to University of Kentucky this year. And I never thought that would happen. So it happens to everybody that we kind of want to control things because we're nervous, like if they'll get hurt or if they'll get, emotionally hurt, or if they'll, go in over their head. So I'm just saying, try not to do that. So giving our children the risk of the dignity of risk is really scary. There really is no recipe for what to allow and what not to allow because it's complicated. Each family needs to figure that out for themselves. What's important is when you're thinking about risks that are okay and that are not okay, remember that giving them risk is a gift. Risk is a gift. For me, unless my son's personal safety is at risk, I let him decide with my support. I try not to veer him in one direction or another. Years ago, I attended a conference where an autistic man was a keynote speaker. He told us that his parents never let him fail. He was like in his 30s, I think. He wished, instead of being overprotective, that they would have let him practice failing. He stressed the importance of letting our students with disabilities practice failing. We often learn more from our failures as from our successes. We feel the uncomfortable feelings that failure brings. Learning how to manage and cope with uncomfortable feelings is a skill that can only be learned by doing. For educators and service providers out there, remember to discuss the importance of these principles: high expectations, dignity of risk, and feeling uncomfortable. But ultimately, remember that each family should dictate the parameters. You need to help families work through their fears by educating them, tell them success stories, give them reliable information. There's nothing worse than a professional who acts like they know more than a parent. Even if you do, don't do that. Parents already have plenty of reasons not to trust the system, so don't give them another one. As a parent, I try to make everyday experiences into teachable moments. I remind my son of his strengths when he's down. I take him on day trips to expose him to different kinds of places. We have been to every single presidential library and museum in the country, and he's learned so much from that. He's a great public speaker now because he teaches them things in the tours. Sometimes I'll tell him about what one of his friends did or what one of my friends did. If he makes a mistake, and I tell them that, I made that mistake too back in the day, or somebody else, so he doesn't feel alone, that, you just kind of help them work through that. I say teachable moments with caution, because teachable moments and life lessons can be very overwhelming and they can backfire if they're given at the wrong time or if there's too many. So just remember, teachable moments should be given with the intention of maintaining a high self-esteem, not as a correction. These principles I've learned from being a parent and also as a graduate of Illinois Partners in Policymaking and a partner at Teachability. I try to look at every perspective and see how to coordinate them in a practical way. I also read a lot about transition services and employment. I'm kind of a research nerd about all that, a lot, yeah. I'm sharing some of my favorite research with you today, but there really is so much, it could be its own topic. My absolute favorite research study is anything by Richard J. Luking, and I put something in the resource page for you to click on and look at. In one of his introductions, he says, and I quote, "The research on effective transition service can be summed up in 3 words. Work is good." The evidence continues to grow that work experience in high school is one of the strongest predictors of adult employment for youth with disabilities. There's also an excellent article in the Journal of Vocational Rehabilitation titled "Good Fences Make Good Neighbors: Collaborating with Families to Create Employment Opportunity." And in it, it says, parent expectations, input, and support is vital to employment success for individuals. This applies to internships as well as employment. It also says that by setting proactive, positive, welcoming, and compassionate guidelines and boundaries, the student is able to practice professionalism, autonomy, and competence. Remember this when someone offers your student a so-called job cleaning tables in the cafeteria or cleaning the lockers of their classmates. I would also like to recommend an article from Disability Studies Quarterly. It's titled "The Role of Parents as Advocates for the Transition Rights of Their Disabled Youth." It's by James F. Austin. And this article has 3 very important points. Number 1, it describes the needs for parents to be equal partners with the schools. Don't be intimidated by schools and agencies that give you misinformation. And I think the biggest misinformation that's given is that VR services don't cover this, VR services don't cover that. If you say CFR, I can't memorize the knife. I'll tell you later the law, but there's a law that says anything that will help get a job is covered. There's a person with didn't have a home. He was homeless, and you need an address to get a job, so they paid for his apartment. There was somebody without teeth. He was given teeth because that helped him get a job. So if anybody says to you that's not covered, it is. It stressed the need to make sure that the child understands, but going back to the article, the need to make sure that your child understands the services available. I think this is really important for self-empowerment. And then lastly, number 3, the article describes the barriers to parent participation, which there are just way too many of, and offers strategies to empower parents. Yeah, so I just feel very strongly about a lot of this misinformation. And I recently attended a webinar by Jonathan Martinez. He's a nationally recognized legal expert on disabilities and policy, and a policy advocate in the country. Oh yeah, here's the law. He says, anything that will help somebody with a disability find a part-time or full-time job. I was talked to by the VR a long time ago, and they said they don't cover part-time, but that was false. They do. It's the law, if you want to write it down, if you want to look it up, is CFR 361.48. If you talk to anybody at any time, I think having this is a tremendous tool if somebody gives you misinformation. So CFR 361.48. I'm also on the Illinois State Rehabilitation Council. Occasionally someone will say that's not covered, and I remind them that that's not true. There are a lot of well-meaning professionals who are just not trained properly in regards to this law. Students in Illinois can work at 14 and 15 years old with a certificate. Students 16 and up can open a case file with DRS. Paid work experience needs to start at 14 and a half for all students with disabilities. And obviously this is easier said than done. The majority of students at this age have no idea what they want to do. And they shouldn't. It's a time of discovery, like Greg said, and exploring. You want to put them in situations that aren't always a perfect match, because you want them to learn what doesn't work as well as what works. So I think a lot of times our kids are put into this, like, we have to get a perfect situation for them. And I know Greg doesn't do this, because you were saying sometimes it doesn't work out and then you get another job. But I just feel like a lot of people I've talked to in schools and agencies, they put so much pressure on these kids to, not do this, do that. I mean, my son was not given an internship opportunity because he talked about marijuana one day. And I just thought, what kid his age doesn't? So I just think that's really important to remember. So I looked it up on Google. I Googled internships 14-year-old, and there's a paid internship from home, such as typing or taking online service, that would really teach students that they're valuable in the workforce from an early age, along with learning how to follow directions and using the computer for work. Seeing a paycheck and learning about a W-2 is an important introduction that will help them envision working one day. I think that's really what it's all about, is planting the seed and just letting them know that they're valuable, letting them know that they will work, and that it's an expectation, and but it has to be a realistic expectation. Okay, so this is tough for me. It seems like many students with disabilities are offered jobs selling coffee or cleaning in their school. It really upsets me when somebody is going to clean their classmates' lockers. I just really get hurt by that. Others are relegated to subpar work, like hanging hangers in the back of TJ Maxx, that was offered to my son, or cleaning tables at Cece's Pizza. And I didn't like these jobs for him, because to me, it made him think of himself as less valuable than his peers. A lot of his friends were working in offices or being exposed to the trades. An excellent way to learn how to be professional is by working in an office. Like I said, this is really easier said than done. It takes a lot of work to find a job. Looking for a job with your student is a job. It will teach them how to find work one day. That's been a tough one for me, to include my son in this process, because he's nervous, he gets scared, he doesn't think he's able, and you just have to kind of gently push them in that direction, and just baby steps get them to understand that this is something that will really be normal for them one day, and you can fail right away. It doesn't make any difference. If you fail, if the people you're working with fail, if everybody feels uncomfortable, that just doesn't matter. You just work through it. That's a normal response. So a couple ideas that I've had is to go to a local legislator, a friend, a family member, a local business or nonprofit like Total Linked Community that will have an inclusive climate. You'd be surprised what your child will learn. I know one young woman who didn't know that it was not okay to fart in an office, so she learned that. Creating a higher standard for our children is not easy, but it's worth it. I started Teachability because I wanted a higher standard for my son and his friends. I was angry. I was really angry. although now I'm no longer angry. Now I've learned that instead of being angry, I need to update people's thinking. When I first started my company, I got really lucky. I went to a mentorship conference in DC, Capitol Hill, and it had nothing to do with disabilities. It was just mentorship. My son was offered an internship in Senator Durbin's office. I was sitting there at the desk, and I have no ties, and I didn't donate money or anything. They just said, would you like to be an intern? And originally when I told him, he said, no, I don't want to be a senator. I don't want to do that. And I said, well, you really want to work for Magic Johnson one day, and I think this would look really good. It would really help you. And he's like, oh, okay. So that was extremely lucky. And this is where I learned that a lot of legislators do have opportunities in their offices. So I think that's a really good place to start. Teachability has also worked with Ascendant, ESSENDENT, and they're a national company with a corporate office in Deerfield and distribution centers in Carroll Stream and Greenville, Illinois. They provide job opportunities that are hybrid of customized employment and like a formal job. They let you choose, okay, you want to work, they let you choose your hours and your days, but once you do that, you have to stick to it. So it's really, they also use something, a software called Skillset, which is skills only testing. So it's a job simulation where somebody becomes a customer service rep or salesperson or logistics, and they do the job online. It's 5 to 7 minutes, and Teachability worked with Skillset to make this disability friendly. You get 3 tries to do it. So the first time they can totally just figure out how to do it before they even worry about it. And then the second or third time they can practice. And then Skillset takes the best job simulation results and they send it to the companies. So companies have this data of saying, okay, this person got 10%, so they're not going to have the skills. But this person got 75%, so with a little bit of training, they'd be a really good person. And they would know if it's a person with a disability or not, because the job simulations are for everybody, not just people with disabilities. And I think my son really likes that because Skillset, it's a company out in Tel Aviv, and I have to full disclosure, I'm a consultant for them because when we worked with them, I really became so impressed because it's a way to level the playing field for everybody. And my son liked it because it had nothing to do with disability, nothing. These kids with disabilities are tired of being assessed. They're tired of going to meetings. They're tired of all that stuff. And just for him to sit at the computer and pretend to be in logistics made him learn he doesn't like that. He doesn't want to stock stuff. Teachability before COVID, we had a really nice internship over at the Chicago Dogs. How am I doing for time? 29. Okay. There was something in the paper that said the Chicago Bulls at the United Center is having a public job fair. And I just thought, that's kind of cool. There'll be a lot of different sports teams, and I know a lot of kids like sports. So I passed my card around and I said, I'd like to develop an internship program, and nobody got back to me except for one. But that was really a huge success. The Chicago Dogs is an independent baseball team in Rosemont, Illinois. And Kevin, the rep that I met at that job fair, he has a sister with a disability. So he was the low-hanging fruit that normally are the people that really help right away with creating new opportunities. And he talked to the owner of the Dogs, who originally said no, because the owner was afraid that if they did something wrong, there would be something posted on Twitter. And so he was worried about bad press. So eventually Kevin talked him into it, and we did it. We worked with the NSSED, the Northern Suburban Special Education District, which is now called True North Educational Cooperative. And they chose some Saturday games, and they marketed to their students. Teachability marketed on social media. And it really was a great success because not only were the kids working alongside, was kids with disabilities and kids without working together as interns, but then the family members all got free tickets. And I remember I went to every game because I was kind of like there was a problem, somebody came to me. So I remember seeing families just so happy, that the whole family just belonged and they were walking around. And I know that that's a really big thing, at least in my family. Sometimes you just feel like you don't belong. And that's a variety of reasons, but it really was a nice success for the whole family. So with a little bit of initiative and will, parents can develop new opportunities for the students. And I know a lot of people work and they don't have time. So I think if there's like a parent committee somewhere, they could, for example, start an internship program at the Schaumburg Boomers, and just kind of try to pave the way. So
Cindy, can you just tell us a little bit about teachability and overview, so people know?
We've had so many iterations. It's really, really tough because I started it as a parent and I wanted to be a consultant and just kind of part-time work from home. And then it just kind of turned into this staffing thing where, we help with staffing and we're working with Ascendant and we're working with Skill Set and Walgreens probably down the road. But one thing at a time, it's just.
Can you describe what you mean by staffing? What do you say?
So we are finding ways, we're working with the companies. Maybe I didn't make that clear. So we're working directly with the companies to help them figure out how to make their hiring process more, just more fair for people with disabilities. And I'm also working with a place in Canada. And we want to bring, this guy's ready to scale his document digitizing services, and they're making $50,000 a year. The people with autism who are scanning the documents and digitizing them and systems testing, and he's ready to scale in the U.S. And so I'm going to bring that down. We're going to meet with the council and hopefully get some money to start that, and then we just kind of work on these projects that just help people find jobs that are good.
So does that mean people, if they have a loved one with a disability who's looking to work, do they reach out to you for assistance in finding?
I took Mark Gold's customized employment, and when I took that, I realized that's not for me because my son has a lot of work and I just don't have it to give to other people. So that's when I have 2 partners now, and we are really more working on the system. So I just say, I don't want to tell people too much about that here because it's just not ready. And I know people want to find stuff now. Mm-hmm. So I was really focused on this, is just what to do right now. Mm-hmm. But there's going to be hopefully some things in Illinois where there'll be for kids with autism and kids with ADHD, where they can, have a really good opportunity. And
so Cindy, then they can just check your website to see.
No, our website went down because we're in transition. I mean, every time I get my elevator speech, it changes. So I was kind of given up. I'm working behind the scenes more now.
Okay, well, it's good to know. That's great.
Like if somebody wanted to set up something like an internship with the Schaumburg Boomers, for sure call me and I would be happy to help. It's more like setting up systems, not individual. I would say go to Greg for that.
That's valuable. That's valuable. Helping.
Yeah, I want to set up systems so Greg can go to Ascendant and, have a whole bunch of opportunities. So we're setting up Ascendant to do that.
So if someone has a company maybe who they think might be a great partner for employing people with disabilities, but just doesn't quite know how to start, is that something that if they called you would do some training with that company?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And do you have geographic areas that you only do that in, or you're open to a wide?
I can do that remotely if possible, just because of COVID. I think it's a lot easier now. People are used to it. Before COVID, I probably would have said I want to meet in person and do all that. But now, if somebody's interested, definitely call me. But I feel like, okay, so my partners are Tim and Garrett. Tim is more the business side. Even though I have an MBA in finance, I speak the language, but I don't want to visit. So I'm just not interested in that. I'm interested in the family perspective. Tim is the business perspective, and Garrett is the training perspective. So when we work with companies, what Teachability now is going to really focus on is working with a family support, because in Illinois, a business can't call the mom or dad. That's against the law. So they could call Teachability and say, hey, what's this? And that's what I'm going to do with the guy in Canada that's coming down. So that's something that we're kind of, like Tim's kind of doing his thing, Garrett's doing his thing, and they're doing it at Ascendant with Teachability. And I'm focusing on the Canada thing, where when he scales, Teachability will be in the contract. And when anybody has an issue or question and they're embarrassed, like if you're a business person and you don't really know what to do in a situation, but you don't want to embarrass yourself, then they can call Teachability and we can tell them, give them some advice. And then if the parent is worried about something, they're not allowed to call the company. So the parent could call Teachability and say, this is my concern. And so Teachability will be a mediator. That's really my focus in the company now, is to be a mediator between the business and the families, because that family support is so necessary. It's really important. And I think a lot of companies don't see that yet. So we're trying to, I guess we're always trying to create new ways of thinking and new ways of seeing.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a different part. It's a different part of the bridge that needs to be built, right?
Yeah.
So that's the behind the scenes, and some of, everybody's doing their part in some way. So that's fantastic. Thank you very much, Cindy. And we do have your handout that was sent in the email for the Zoom meeting. So everyone has that information if they want to get in touch with you. But thank you very, very much.
Thank you for letting me talk. And I just want to remind everybody, CFR 361.48. Oh, no, sorry.
So add it to the resources on our website.
Is that on there? Okay, good. That's
I'm going
really
to add
important.
it.
Everything is covered. Everything is covered with DRS, everything.
Excellent.
Okay.
That's great to know. Thank you very much, Cindy.
I think we're going to move forward with Kristen Sheffield from the Parents Alliance Employment Project, another great parent-founded organization. So welcome, Kristen.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. As Linda said, my name is Kristen Sheffield. I am the Executive Director of Parents Alliance Employment Project. And much like the other agency that was on here, we are also parent-founded in the late 70s by parents who had children with disabilities. And really after high school, there weren't a whole ton of options for their children. So our name of our agency speaks to what they did. It was a group of parents who formed an alliance with a focus on employment. I just want to thank the other two speakers, Greg and Cindy, because I really think that they laid a great foundation for what employment for individuals with disabilities is all about. We share very much the same philosophy as Greg's organization, as well as Cindy, in the fact that parents know their children the best and should be a very active part of the employment process. So thank you. It's always a great coming together and sharing resources. And I just want to share a really funny story. Greg, your job coach that was in the video, you guys worked with Zebra Technologies. And Zebra Technologies actually brought our agency and your agency together for the Tough Mudder as a team builder. So I became really familiar with your agency doing that. But I find it interesting that a business who is hiring people with disabilities brought two agencies together to do some team building. So just kind of a side story on that.
Zebra's been an awesome partner. They
yes.
really do walk the walk.
Yeah,
They're great.
they are absolutely amazing. Yes. Okay, so oops. Let's see. No, I can't go back. Okay, so I am just going to talk to you guys a little bit about Parents Alliance Employment Project. Just kind of provide an overview of services that we serve. I have been with the agency for 20 years. I started off as an employment specialist, providing one-on-one services to individuals with disabilities. And then after a couple of years, moved into the director role. I also served as an adjunct professor at Northern Illinois University, teaching their Introduction to Vocational Rehabilitation course as well. So I have some extensive experience in the field. And I too go along with what Greg said, in that there is a job out there for everybody. That is our philosophy, whether it's trial and error, building work skills. In my time, I have been so guilty of assuming things when you meet an individual with a disability. And honestly, when you put an individual with a disability into a work setting, they thrive. They 100% completely thrive. So that's really our philosophy that we use with our agency. I think what I will share with you today, we have some very unique programs that we run with our agency. We are primarily located out of DuPage County. However, we have been expanding to Kane, Kendall, and DeKalb, as well as McHenry County as well. So we do have our supported employment track. And then we also have our specialized services, our project search program that we're running in partnership with Northwestern Medicine that I will share with you today. And then I'll also talk to you about our Inspired Viability program as well. So I think Greg touched on this. So I'm just, it's really, really important for parents that, I kind of like to create that visual in school. They are provided all of those supports. And once they, get into those adult years, all of those supports go away. So it's very important as parents to really explore options and do this early on. And then transition, we kind of covered this. So, I like to kind of, make sure that parents are aware of the different areas that they should be looking at in transition, not only just employment, but all of those other important things as well. So our main program is our supported employment program. And usually this is done, I know someone asked a question, and an individual can come directly to our organization, or they can go through the Division of Rehabilitation Service as well. But that is where we get a large chunk of our funding to be able to provide those services to individuals with disabilities. So our program looks very similar to a lot of the stuff that Greg was saying. One of the things that I like to stress is that the services that our individuals receive are very individualized. We have employment specialists that provide one-on-one services, and their average caseload is anywhere from 8 to 12 individuals. So it's very, very small, so that our staff are allowed that time to be able to walk them through the whole process. And what I kind of like to, describe supported employment is like hand holding. We hold their hand and support them through their entire employment process. And the different components of that is the intake. Our employment specialists meet with the individuals to get to know them, to get to know what their knowledge, their skills, abilities are, and really what their employment goal is. And then we also engage in job readiness activities. So, very much what Greg was talking about, we help them get those specialized resumes together. We do mock interviewing. We talk about social skills with them. So all those kind of job readiness pieces. And then job development. Our staff go out into the community and build those business relationships. I do have to say, with this job market right now, our placement is at like 98%. There are so many businesses out there that need workers, that have high turnover positions, that want to partner with agencies, with like Parents Alliance and all of the other supported employment agencies that are out there. So we really go in and develop not just a job specific to an individual, but we build those relationships with the businesses first to get to know what their business looks like, what kind of job openings they have, and then also kind of do that awareness piece in working with individuals with disabilities. So then once the individual is placed into employment, then our employment specialist is on the job, providing those job coaching and supports until they become 100% individual and independent. I'm sorry. So what that basically looks like is that our staff is there with them 100% of the time at the beginning. We're scoping out the duties that they can and cannot do, and then coming up with creative strategies and accommodations to get them to become 100% independent. So where they're 100% of the time, we slowly fade away and build those natural supports as well. I don't want to, recreate and say what Greg was saying, but it's very similar to what Greg was talking about. And then once they're 100% independent on that job, we kind of walk away, but that we always tell the individuals as well as the parents and the businesses that if at any point there are issues down the road, they can always call us to come back in and troubleshoot anything that they might need us to do. One of the other things that I want to stress, because I know when I talk to a lot of parents, some agencies have like a job developer, and then some people, and then someone else is doing the job coaching. One of the things that we really pride ourselves on is that once they're assigned an employment specialist, they are with that employment specialist from start to finish. It's not two different people doing two different things. So we have to recreate that process over. So that's kind of our main track of supported employment. So if there's an individual with a disability that's coming out of high school and they get linked to our agency and they go into supported employment, that means that they are ready to hit the ground running. They've gotten some vocational training in their school. They don't need any more training, and they're just ready and motivated to get that job. So our other program that I'm going to talk to you about is our Project Search program. And the Project Search program is really meant towards individuals who need that additional skill building, right? So when they come out of high school, they're not ready for a job. They still need to build stamina, they need to build their confidence, and they need some development in work skills and to build those. So right now, Parents Alliance Employment Project is running 3 Project Search programs. We partner with Northwestern Medicine. They are the business host site. And we have one at Central DuPage Hospital in Winfield. We have one at Delnor Hospital out of Geneva, and then one out at Woodstock Hospital in Woodstock. And this is based off of a national program that was started in Ohio at the Cincinnati Children's Hospital. And so they really took this model, and anyone who runs a Project Search program has to have a license to run the program and follow their exact model. So it's really an intensive skill building program for individuals with disabilities. The individuals are there. It's run similar to a school year calendar. So they start in September and they end in May, and they are actually there at the hospital from Monday through Friday from 7:30 to 2:30. So it's very intensive. What that day typically looks like is in the morning from about 7:30 to 9 o'clock, they are engaged in a classroom instruction where we're covering a curriculum that includes job readiness skills, independent living skills, financial literacy, health and safety. And then after that morning session, they are placed into internships throughout the hospital. One of the most amazing things about, having the program at a hospital is that they are exposed to so many different types of industries within the hospital. They are in the sterilization department, they are in linen, they are in transport, they have a cafeteria there, they have receiving, and they work on the dock. So we just have exposure to a number of different departments in the hospital. And then the students get to try out 3 different departments. So they spend 10 weeks at one department. And then after they're done with that one, they move on to a different department. And then they finish up their last one at another department within the high school. So it's a very intensive program, but it's really building those skills. Our staff, Parents Alliance, is there on site. Northwestern Medicine has actually built out a classroom in each of these hospitals. So when they come in, they have lockers there, they participate in the classroom and then go to their internships. Right towards the end of the program, usually like in February and March, then we hit the ground running with job development to help them transfer all of the skills that they have learned at their internships into competitive community employment, and then also provide that job coaching and support to them on those jobs. The Project Search program is not meant to be a pipeline specifically for job openings that are at Northwestern Medicine, but you know, a lot of times it does happen. If there's an individual that completes their internship in a certain department and then that department has a job opening and they've done really well, then we can apply for that job to work at Northwestern Medicine. So it does happen. So just kind of wanted to point out that the Central DuPage Hospital program is an in-school program, and they must be in their last year of transition. So instead of staying at the school and doing their transition program, they say, okay, this is my last year of transition. I want to go to the Project Search program. I want to build my work skills so I can focus on an employment outcome. The Delnor Hospital and Woodstock Hospital are out of school programs. So those programs, the individuals can maximize services from their high school, they can graduate, and then if there is, you know, still an opportunity for work skill building and employment, then they can come to those programs. Our Central DuPage Hospital application is closed, but just want to point out that our Delnor Hospital and Woodstock Hospital applications are open right now, and those will be closing, I believe, in early June. Visit our website. I'll make sure that you guys have our Parents Alliance website if you want to learn more about the Project Search program. So one of our other specialized employment programs is our Inspired by Ability program. And this is primarily based out of DuPage County. And it is basically a less intense program than the Project Search program. The Project Search program is, you know, that Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 2:30. And what we were really finding is that a lot of individuals, you know, it was a little bit too intense. And so what we did is we created an out of school program for individuals with disabilities to participate in a shortened version of a classroom instruction where it's just one day a week. It's on Wednesdays from 9 to 11. And then they're placed into job training sites based on what their employment goals are, where they want to try working. So these are individuals that may have had some experience in vocational training in school, but they could use a little bit more. We work with a variety of individuals, but one of the cool things about this program, we get our funding through WIOA, which is the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, to run this program, and it's paid training. What an incentive for individuals, right? So as they're going out and participating in their job training and community sites, they're actually paid for that. And then the same concept is that we're able to build those work skills, and then we place them, transfer those skills into competitive community employment as well. This is not working. Let's see. Okay. So this is Christopher. I just wanted to share some success stories. Christopher was one of my very first individuals that I actually worked with as an employment specialist. I recruited his mom to serve on my board of directors because I truly believe in the parent perspective. Cindy, I think I want you to come and talk to my staff at my in-service. But Christopher, I got him placed, I want to say like 18 years ago at Meyer. And he was, the individual who was taking in the carts. And he started exhibiting some behaviors after 4 or 5 years. And that position was just not good for him anymore. And that's okay, right? So we kind of, and this was 18 years ago, and we've come a long way, right? So we sat down and, we kind of did some more discovery and exploration. And Chris was really into cars, he was always out in the garage with his dad working on the car. And we drummed up a relationship with WeatherTech. Everyone knows WeatherTech, right? And so we went in and talked to them. And, of course, they were very open to the idea. And Christopher has been employed at WeatherTech for over 11 years now, and he's just thriving. And he's thriving because he's in an environment that he loves. This is something that he does in his spare time. So that's Christopher. Cole was an individual that went through our Inspired by Ability program. Cole came to us as an individual with autism, and his job was that he wanted to get into welding. And so he went through our Inspired by Ability program. We created a relationship with a manufacturing company called SWD. And he actually did his job training, was paid for his training. He learned the aspect of the job, and SWD loved him so much that they hired him on, and he's working there. He's been successfully employed for 2 years. Lastly, Tim. Tim was one of our first individuals that was at our Project Search program at Central DuPage Hospital. Our very first inaugural class in 2014. And Tim did such an amazing job at Northwestern Medicine during his internships and training there that he's been employed there for 7 years following the program. So just a couple of success stories. But I think from my perspective, and I think, our whole panel here today is that, just make sure that you're starting to think about transition planning early on. And then if employment is part of your goal, explore those options, get familiarized with all of the different agencies that are in your area or that expand beyond their area. Learn more about what their outcomes are, are they do they have accreditation, just dive into learning more about the agencies. I always try to prepare my presentations based off of when I talk to parents, what kind of questions they're asking me. And I would say that, the DRS, the parents hear the word DRS and they're like, oh, I don't know what that is. It's a state agency. And agencies like Greg's and ours are there to help you. We will navigate that piece of it for you. We have the direct connect. I can't tell you how many times I had parents on the phone and they're like, I've been trying to get a hold of DRS. And I'm like, we'll take care of it for you. We will call them. Greg's smiling because he knows. It's just that their caseloads are high. They have a high demand. If we can make that direct connect, we are happy to do that for you. So just get connected and learn about the different agencies that are out there. Learn what the caseloads look like. Learn what their job development strategies are. Do they go out? Do they build relationships with employers? Do they provide the right supports for your son or daughter? And once again, just finishing up with the fact that there is a job out there for everybody. And with the right supports, individuals with disabilities can be successful in the workplace. I have been in this field for 20 years. It's so great to kind of see how everything has progressed. You know, all of the businesses, and I think, you know, Greg and Cindy, you can talk about this, but like diversity is really hot right now with businesses. A lot of big corporations are implementing specific strategies to work with individuals with disabilities and to work with agencies like Parents Alliance. You know, and I think like when we go into businesses and we talk to them, 9 times out of 10, someone at that business has been affected by an individual with a disability, whether it's a neighbor, a niece, a nephew. And so it's becoming easier. It's becoming much easier to go in and break down those walls to talk to businesses about employment for people with disabilities. So I just want to finish with a quote because I love it. And maybe some of you have heard this before, but diversity is having a seat at the table, inclusion is having a voice, and belonging is having that voice be heard. And so really, when we go out and we do our employment services and meet with those businesses, it's really about making that connection to make sure that those businesses will create that sense of belonging for our individuals. So.
Great, thank you so much. This was excellent, Kristen. 2 questions. One is on your website, it does say that you also serve Cook County. Could you clarify that?
Yeah, we do serve outside of our county. So we do serve Cook County. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what is the cost for your services, including the project search program?
It is free. It is 100%, no cost whatsoever. I write grants. We have federal funding, we have state funding, and then local foundations. Our project search programs are run with rated funding through the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, as well as the Division of Rehab Services as well. So everything is free of charge.
Wow. Okay. That's great. Excellent. I love your quote at the end.
Yeah.
For project search, I mean, obviously the hospitals, as you said, are not going to be hiring everyone that goes through there. Do those people who finish project search then go into a traditional DRS contract for supported employment, or how do they go about then looking for the right job?
Yeah, we, while they're in project search, we right away open up a case with DRS. And so DRS is active from the very, very beginning. All of our project search programs are funded through WIOA. So that includes a year follow-up. And so we will work with them all the way through a year after they've actually exited the program. So if someone, we start that job development process like in February, March, because we want to see them kind of exit the program successfully employed. But if that has not happened yet, we will work with them until they are actually employed.
I wish we had something like that in our little neck of the woods. We might have to look at other hospital organizations and see if they'll mimic it, because it's a wonderful program.
Yeah, it really is a great model.
Okay, we have one more question that just popped up. When using these services, which today's speakers mentioned, does a person have to get approval from DRS?
For our agency, yes and no. If they're going into our supported employment program and they don't want to pay for services, then yes, they have to be linked to the Division of Rehab Services. But again, that can be scary. Our agencies will help you navigate that process. But if they are engaging in one of our other programs that's not funded by DRS, then no, they don't have to.
Okay. All right, Greg, can you speak to that?
I'll echo what Kristen said. Same thing. DRS holds the keys in most cases, and yeah, one counselor could decide based on the knowledge that they have if the services will be paid for or not. And like Kristen also said, That's terrifying. I'm not a parent, but I can only imagine. And it is really valuable. The longer I've worked here, the better relationships I've developed with the variety of DRS counselors. Some are easier to work with than others, and it is really beneficial to have an advocate or a partner that's in that space to advocate for your case, having the information prior. Like I just worked with a guy that finished project search. Job didn't end up working out. He's been out of work for a year, but because he's already had an adult DRS contract, there's a lot of hoops to go through. Basically, you need like a full year without being on a contract before you can be approved again. But by talking to his mother and getting all the details, you know, I was able to connect with my main contact at Rolling Meadows office, plead the case, and he just got approved. In which case, my guess is if they'd gone, you know, made the referral online, who knows what would have happened. So it's good to do your research prior and have an advocate. Because yeah, if, you know, we offer private pay options too, right? But if you can get it paid for, why not?
Exactly. Well, thank you very much. I just want to point out that Marcy Hartman has attended this, and she was our instructor, right, Linda, for customized employment with Griffin Hammas. Marcy, we could not be more grateful for the excellent instruction you gave us and guidance. And glad to see you on here. And it's nice to know that you have made such a difference in so many people's lives through the Parent Alliance, Total Link, and Customized Employment, just to name a few. So thank you very, very much, Marcy. And thank you to our speakers. Excellent information, and so grateful for the work that you're doing. So
thank you so much for your time today. And as I put in the chat, I will send both Greg and Kristen's PowerPoints to everybody who registered. So you'll receive those later today. And this is our last Friday Forum. We take the summer off. We'll be back in September. So we look forward to seeing everybody then. So have a wonderful summer, everybody. Thank you again for attending, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.
Thank you.